The reflection at Hollow Creek. The road dissolved into a wall of white fog. My GPS froze and the radio died. Then I saw it. Hollow Creek INN vacancy. One light glowed inside. The parking lot held only one rusted car, its windows fogged from the inside. The lobby smelled of damp, ancient books. Behind the desk stood a skeletal man in a faded uniform. He watched me with sharp, patient eyes. "I need a room," I said. He slid a guest book toward me. The pen scratched loudly, the ink bleeding like a bruise. "Room 417, he said, handing me a heavy key. "If someone knocks, do not open the door." The elevator was broken. I climbed the creaking stairs to the 4th floor. Inside room 417, a massive mirror was bolted to the wall. As I sat on the bed, the mattress sank deeply, as if someone had just stood up. I walked to the mirror. My reflection was pale. I raised my hand. The reflection followed, but a fraction of a second late. I froze. The reflection didn't. It stayed still and curled its mouth into a jagged smile. I threw my jacket over the glass and backed away. At 11:51 p.m., 3 slow knocks echoed. "I think I'm on the wrong floor," a woman's voice whispered. I saw her shadow pressed flat against the bottom of the door. "I know you're there," she said, her voice now flat and hungry. Behind me, my jacket slid to the floor. The reflection was watching again. At 2:08 a.m., the mattress sank beside me. I felt heat and heard wet breathing. "You noticed early," a voice whispered in my ear. It was my voice. I scrambled back. The mirror showed me still sitting on the bed. "You shouldn't stare," my reflection said. A crack bloomed across the glass. I bolted into the bathroom and locked the door. From the bedroom came the sound of the mirror exploding. Morning brought no light. I emerged to find the room in ruins, wallpaper peeling, bed rotted. I ran to the empty lobby. In the guest book, every name was crossed out. The last name was mine. Outside, my car was gone. In its place stood the rusted sedan, its seat still warm. Muddy footprints. My footprints led from the car back into the hotel. "You can leave now," a voice said. I spun around. Standing in the doorway was a man wearing my face perfectly. "You stayed," he said. I didn't. I woke up on the roadside 2 days later. The police said no hotel existed there. I avoid mirrors now. But sometimes my reflection moves a second too late. And sometimes late at night, I hear knocking from inside the glass. The knocking didn't stop when I left the hotel. It just moved. At first, I thought the sound was in my head, a rhythmic drumming against my skull. But then I saw the first crack on my bathroom mirror at home. It was small, a silver hair thin as a needle, spreading exactly where my reflection's heart should be. I tried to live a normal life. I kept the lights dim and the curtains closed. But the city is full of glass. Walking past a shop window, I saw him, the version of me that stayed at Hollow Creek. He wasn't walking. He was standing still inside the glass of a bakery, watching me struggle through the rain. He wore my favorite coat. He looked rested. I looked like a ghost. One night, the phone rang. The caller ID was my own number. I answered, trembling. "The guest book isn't full yet," my own voice whispered from the receiver. "It's hungry again, and it doesn't like the new tenant." I smashed the phone, but the voice lingered in the air. I realized then that I hadn't escaped. I had been divided. The me in the mirror was getting stronger, while I felt myself fading, my skin turning the color of old paper, my breath smelling of basement dust. Driven by a desperate terror, I drove back. I searched for the fog, for the road that didn't exist. For hours there was nothing but dark pines and empty asphalt. Then the radio began to hiss. The GPS screen turned into a white void. The Hollow Creek Inn stood waiting, but it looked different now. It wasn't just old. It was translucent, like a photograph left in the sun too long. The rusted sedan was gone. In its place stood my actual car, the one I thought I'd lost. I entered the lobby. The skeletal bellhop was gone. The guest book lay open, but the pages were blank. Every name had vanished except for one, mine. But it wasn't written in ink anymore. It was carved into the paper, deep enough to see the wood of the desk beneath. I went to room 417. The door was already open. The mirror was whole again, gleaming with a terrifying intensity. "Swap back?" a voice asked. I turned. He was sitting on the bed. He looked more like me than I did. His eyes had color. Mine were turning gray. He held out the metal key. "You can't handle the silence," he smiled. "And I can't handle the noise of your world. But the hotel needs a soul to keep the lights on." I reached for the key. The moment our fingers touched, the room spun. The smell of damp books became overwhelming. I felt a cold, glass-like surface press against my back. I am in the mirror now. I watch him leave in my car, driving back to a life he'll live better than I ever did. I watch the new guests arrive, their eyes wide with fear as the fog rolls in. I wait behind the glass, and when they get too close, I move just a second too late. I'm not the one screaming anymore. I'm the one waiting for the knock. Being inside the mirror is not like being behind glass. It is like being under deep, frozen water. I can see the room 417, but it is distorted, the edges of reality curling like burnt paper. I am the silence now. I am the shadow that doesn't fit. For a long time, there was only the sound of the hotel breathing. But then the door to 417 opened. A young man entered. He looked the way I used to, frantic, tired, smelling of road salt and panic. He sat on the bed, and I felt the vibration through the silver veil. He looked at me, or rather, he looked at the mirror. He didn't see a monster. He saw his own reflection, pale and scared. I realized then what the bellhop knew. The hotel doesn't just trap you. It feeds on the transition. I watched him for hours. I followed his movements, mimicking him with agonizing precision. I hated him. I hated the way he could breathe real air. I waited for the moment his focus wavered. When he finally leaned in close to inspect a phantom blemish on his cheek, I didn't follow. I stayed perfectly still. I let my smile grow wider than a human mouth should allow. The terror in his eyes was delicious. He screamed, but in the mirror world, screams have no sound. He bolted for the bathroom, just as I had done. But this time I was the one who reached out. My hand pressed against the glass from the inside, and to my shock, the surface felt soft like warm wax. The barrier was thinning. "Help me," he gasped, leaning against the door. "I am you," I whispered, the words bubbling through the silver. Suddenly, the hotel began to shake. The me who had stolen my life, the one who drove away in my car, appeared in the doorway. He looked horrific. His skin was sloughing off in gray patches. The real world had rejected him. He was a copy that couldn't survive without the original source. It didn't work. He shrieked at the mirror. "They know. The sun burns." He lunged at the young man on the bed, but I didn't let him. I reached through the glass, my fingers turning into shards of light. I grabbed the imposter and dragged him into the silver void with me. We collided in a chaos of shattered identities. There was a blinding flash, the sound of 1,000 mirrors breaking at once. I woke up on the gravel of the parking lot. The sun was rising, but it was a cold, white sun. The Hollow Creek Inn was gone. In its place was a scorched foundation overgrown with weeds that looked like human hair. I looked down at my hands. They were translucent. I looked at my car. It was a rusted shell. I walked to a nearby puddle to see my face. There was no reflection. The water showed the sky, the trees, the ruins. But it didn't show me. I am back in the world, but I am a ghost in the machine. I walk among people, but I leave no shadow. I have my freedom, but I have no soul. And sometimes when I pass a mirror, I see the young man from room 417. He is trapped on the other side now, and he is looking for a way out.